Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the iPad Pro. Now I've been using this since it came out, so that's 2 to 3 weeks at this point, and I've used it every single day and really wanted to get a feel for it before I shared my thoughts with you on it. So you can see I have the Apple Pencil, I have the iPad, I don't have the smart keyboard because I decided I didn't want to use it, and then I have the smart cover. So there's a couple different options with this iPad, and this iPad is not an inexpensive iPad. In fact, they have a laughably small storage option at 32 gigabytes, which brings this iPad in at $799. Now this is actually the 128 gigabyte model. You can't expand the storage, and this is what you get. So I got the most storage I could, and they only offer 32 or 128. So $799 for 32, $949 for 128. Now you can also get another bump up for Wi-Fi and cellular that adds GPS as well, and that's $1,079. So this is not an inexpensive device at all. Now with the cover, you add another $60 and then another $100 for this pencil. So you're well over $1,000 when you have everything you want. If you get a cover or whatever else, it's just not inexpensive at all. And it does have Apple's Pro name on it, and it has some pretty impressive specs, but I'm not sure it's ready to be called a Pro device just yet. Now this is actually the space gray model, just like the phone that I have, and it matches nicely. They come in silver and gold as well. This one actually has the black front because it's space gray. I prefer that on an iPad or an iPhone. And then we have the space gray back. Now with this design, they really haven't changed a whole lot, but this weighs about 1.5 pounds, so it's a little bit heavier than everything else out there now. It's about the same as the original iPad, but this design actually isn't seeming to wear so well. I have an iPad Air 2 of the same color, and it hardly has any marks on it. This one actually has quite a few scuff marks. I don't know if you can see this right here. Let me bring it up a little bit closer. And right in here, there we go, under this light, you can see this line. That's just a wear mark on the aluminum on the coating itself. That's just from setting it on a table, nothing more really, and throwing it in a bag. We also have some marks around the outside as well, so it'll hold up, but you might want a case. Actually, there's some more right in this corner here. It seems not to do so well right along these lines here, so they stick up quite a bit, and it obviously affects the durability of the coating and it lasting a long time. So that's kind of disappointing as far as that goes. No other issues anywhere else, though, as far as that part goes. Now, on this particular device, Apple has decided to include a camera on the back. It's an 8-megapixel camera. Nothing really spectacular, but it'll do the job. I don't expect anyone to be holding this up and using it. You've got a microphone here. You've got some volume buttons here on the side and a little microphone here. If we slide down, you'll see there's nothing there. But on this side here, we have 2 speakers. There's 4 total. And then we have a lightning port. Now, it's been found recently that this is a USB 3 lightning port, so it has a little bit faster data transfer. There's not really any accessories other than an SD card reader that take advantage of that yet, so maybe we'll see something else in the future. On this side, we have the smart cover, and then if we pop this off, you've got 3 connectors here. And these are so far used for the keyboard, so you've got data and power that are fed through here. I hope to see maybe a dock with expandable storage or something like that with this, but at this point, there isn't anything. On this side, we have our 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and then dual speakers, power sleep wake button. So really nothing fancy there. If I flip it over, and this is a smart cover, so it'll turn the device on, you've got the iPad Pro. Now this display is really nice looking. Let me pull this off here. And this is just a smart cover. It just folds up and provides a stand, just like you'd expect. And maybe we'll take a closer look at that in a little bit. But this is the iPad Pro. You've got Touch ID here. Just unlocks the phone. This is a stock wallpaper that's included. And then we have a 1.2 megapixel forward-facing camera here for FaceTime and selfies, things like that. But I don't expect too many people will really use that for any high-quality photos. Now this display is really, really nice looking. It's a 12.9-inch display, so it's quite large, and it's a lot bigger than it probably looks next to my hands. In fact, let me grab my iPhone 6s Plus to give you an idea. This is the 6s Plus, so if you've ever held one of these or kind of got the idea, this is a pretty big display here. You've got a lot of real estate on this display. In fact, it's 2 iPad Air displays basically side by side as far as the size goes. This is an extremely high resolution display too, which is really nice. It's a Retina display. It's 2732 by 2048, so that means it's 264 pixels per inch. Really nice pixel density there. It's also fingerprint resistant, oleophobic, so they've got that coating like they do on everything else. And it's got another little layer under there for the pencil, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. So as far as that goes, that's what you can see. Underneath is a really powerful A9X processor. This is a 64-bit processor, and it's also got an M9 motion coprocessor underneath it as well. So this really has a lot of horsepower behind it for a mobile processor. Inside is a pretty large battery. It's a 38.5 watt-hour lithium polymer battery, and it occupies about this center section of the display, and then you've got resonance chambers for the speakers. And the battery holds out pretty well. It actually holds out a good 10 hours, maybe even 12 hours if you're just watching videos that are already on here. If you're watching videos that are streaming, you'll probably get a little bit less. And if you're doing a lot of heavy lifting, such as maybe something in Procreate, creating with it, you may get 9 hours. It just depends how you're using it. But most people will find they get about the same as regular iPads. The main disadvantage is this really feels like it takes forever to charge. Now, if you leave it overnight, it's not going to be a problem. This particular device, and if you're not familiar, some iPad Pros, like this one, if I plugged it in, left it overnight, when I went to wake it up in the morning, it actually wouldn't turn on until I did a hard reset holding the two buttons here. So I had to hold these, it would reset, come up to this screen, and then I could finally, or the lock screen, log in, and then it'd work. It actually happened to me 3 times. Now with iOS 9.2 that actually came out yesterday, or the day before I'm filming this, Apple says it's resolved it. So far I haven't seen the problem, but I haven't charged it to 100% overnight at this point. But I would say it takes a good 3 to 4 hours to charge in my experience. Maybe closer to 3, it just depends, but that's using the adapter that's included. I think most people charging it overnight, this won't be too much of an issue, but it just seems like it's a long time to charge. But they do include an extra long lightning cable with it, so that helps if you need to plug it in while you're using it. Now, as far as the interface is concerned, this is where I think this is a little bit of a letdown. Look at the interface, and you'll notice there's a lot of wasted space in between the icons. This is just basically iOS from the iPad and the iPhone put on a larger display. You get more icons, you've got more real estate, but you're really not gaining anything by using a giant screen at this point, using it this way. So it's nice to look at the larger screen, but as far as the real estate's concerned, you really could do a lot more with this than just what we have here. One of the big features this has is split view, which is multitasking. Now it works on the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 4, but that's it, other than the iPad Pro now. So if we go into Safari, for example, and here's my website, some different videos and things, and everything's super quick, responsive. I've had no slowdowns whatsoever. We swipe in from the right, and we've got another app. And in this case, it's Pages. So we've got Pages, or this little line here, we just pull down, and we can get into different apps. We could swap over to podcasts. We could pull down, go back to Pages. And then if you've got this line here, which not all applications support yet, you can do split view. So if you grab the line and just pull in, you can split it in half or go back to the smaller size, whatever you prefer. But now you have 2 full-size iPad Air displays side by side. And these work independently of one another, so you can kind of go back and forth. And if I want to tap here, I can type. And you'll notice right away, if you're familiar with the iPad, that this keyboard is a little bit different. It's more like a MacBook in that it's got its keys laid out along the top. We've got fonts here, so we can change the font real simply. They've just added some really nice features now that we have more real estate to do that in. I actually prefer typing on this. I can type pretty fast, and if I want to use a separate keyboard, I have a wireless Bluetooth keyboard I can just hold separately while this is propped up. So I really don't have any issues there. I don't really care for that smart keyboard because it's $170, $180 after tax. You're paying almost $200 basically for a keyboard that's a case that adds bulk, and I don't really like to add bulk to an iPad. If I really need a keyboard, like I said, I'll just use a wireless Bluetooth one that I have. So this is split view, and that's really all you can do with it. You can't really shrink these or move them and see the desktop, I guess, which would be the home screen. So hopefully some of this will change in the future. One of the annoyances is it's not real easy to swap these screens. You can go full screen, then pull in from the right, and tap that way. It's a really simple approach and it works, but maybe they'll have some optimizations in the future. But let's go back home. And the other thing we can do is play a video at the same time. So if we play a video within certain apps that support it, we can get a little picture-in-picture. And again, that's supported on the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 4 as well. So if I go in, say I start a video, and I can't show the video due to copyright reasons, but say I start a video, I'll give you an idea here. What I did is after I started the video, I paused it so I could show you the idea of how it does the little picture-in-picture. So if I make this bigger, I can make it bigger, open Safari, and it drops down like that. I can shrink it down. I can hit play. I can bring it back full screen. Once it's full screen, if I hit the home button again, it goes away if it's not playing. If it's playing, it shrinks down to that little box again. So it's really nice and very simple, and it's a nice little addition that you have. And it's something I actually find myself actually using quite a bit. So that's one thing I like, but unfortunately not all apps support that yet. So for example, if you're playing a video in the YouTube app, this doesn't support the split view or the video playing. But if you play a YouTube video from within Safari, it does support it. So hopefully we see some more of that support in the future. Before we take a look at the Apple Pencil, I wanted to show you how fast the processor is in rendering video. So I created a simple little video in iMovie. And right here you can see it's my intro and some video I actually recorded at the Apple Store when I did a different video on kind of a first hands-on on the Smart Keyboard and the Apple Pencil. So I wanted to put these together real quick just to give you an idea. So if I hit done over here, it's 1 minute and 7 seconds. So we'll go ahead and share it here. Save video, and we'll save it in 1080p. It's at 1080p 60 right now. So we'll hit that, and we'll see how long this takes. You can see it's moving along very quickly. Now, it's not a terribly long video, but compared to, say, a Mac Pro, for example, that I usually render or edit this video with, it's going to take about the same amount of time, and in some cases, actually less time, depending on what you're doing. So it's seriously impressive as far as that goes. So you can see it's already done. It was a 1 minute HD movie, and it's fully exported. So it's pretty impressive how quickly that does what it needs to do. The Apple Pencil comes in at $100, and this is a pretty nice device. It has a lightning cable here to charge it with, and at 4%, I was at 4% earlier today, I plugged this into the iPad and charged to 14% in about 3 to 5 minutes. Apple says 15 seconds of charge will get you 30 seconds of actual usage, so that's pretty good. The disadvantage is this is magnetic and easily losable, just clips in place. Now when you initially get it, you just plug it into the bottom of the iPad, a little dialog pops up, you hit yes as far as syncing it to it, and then it's synced. On the other end, we have a plastic, kind of a hard plastic tip, as opposed to more of a felt-like feel on a Surface Pen. It unscrews, and they do give you an extra one with it, and this is the little sensor underneath. So you do have that. I haven't worn it out or anything. It seems to be okay. Now, the pen itself, or pencil, works really well. You can navigate the whole iPad with it and do whatever you need to, and you've got double the sampling rate, so it's really, really precise, meaning this screen actually changes the sampling rate at which it senses touch when you're using the pen or the pencil. If you go to, say, Notes, for example, we've got a little notepad here by using the sketch feature, and we've got a ruler. We can move this around like this. Move it around. We just hit these buttons on the bottom and they go away. And we have the eraser. This isn't an eraser on the top. Some people have commented about that. Some people like it, some don't. If you go to an artist store, most artist pencils do not have erasers. I don't know if that's the choice they made based on that or not. But we have a pencil, we have a marker, and a pen. So if we take the pencil, and then we can select colors down here, and whatever we want, we just select. We'll just use black for now to make it easy to see. We'll hit erase all. And this has great palm rejection. So you just set your palm on here. It won't do anything to the screen. And then we move this down here and just start drawing. So if I draw out zollotech, write out zollotech rather, you'll see it's really, really fast. It responds extremely fast. And the more I tilt it, in fact, let me use no pressure at all. I'll just use the weight of the pencil. You'll see it's shading very, very lightly and works really, really good. It does make a little bit of a tapping sound when you use it, if you tap on the screen, but that's really not a big deal, I wouldn't think. So let's select blue. Just come back over. This looks horrible, but you get the idea. It works really quickly. Let's erase. I'll show you the marker. The marker's kind of neat. We can do a really fine line or a really thick line by laying it on its side. Same thing with the pen. It has nice dark ink, and it feels like you're writing right on the screen. There doesn't really seem to be an air gap between the screen and the surface of the LCD, so it's really hard to tell that you're not writing right on the screen. So again, let me hit erase, and then so it works really good, and there's my terrible handwriting. Again, you can just use the eraser like this. Now, other than the Notes app, we have other apps that secondhand manufacturers have made or third-party developers. So we've got Procreate, which is really, really good. They include these different pictures with the application to give you an idea of what you can do with it, and this is really pretty impressive. And you've got a few other things here. So if I just open a new one, this application I think was $5 or $10. It depends on, I don't remember what it was. I thought it was on sale for a little while, but it's well worth the money if you're going to draw. You can see there was a little bit of a delay there for a second, and we have a ton of different brushes to choose from. So we can do inking, artistic, wet acrylic. We can select the color we want. It's really, really much more advanced. And if I go really fast, you'll see it does lag ever so slightly sometimes. Once in a while it will, and other times it doesn't. It's kind of strange how it actually works, but it gives you that idea of how this really works. And we can change brush opacity, all sorts of things. It's a really, really nice way to use an application that will get you about 90% of the way there, according to artists and things that have used this application. So that gives you an idea of how this works, and things blend and everything. If you're an artist, you'll appreciate this. I'm more of I can kind of draw more architectural type things as opposed to artistic things, or I can copy what I'm seeing. Otherwise, I don't get much more artistic than that. But as far as a graphic program, we've got Graphic, and this one's really nice. It's a vector graphic program. So you've got this involved too, and you can use the stylus for this, and whatever you want to do, shapes or draw out a little star, move it around, whatever you want to do, you can do. And it works really, really well. There's hopefully going to be a lot more applications that give you more and more ability as time goes on. So that's basically what the iPad Pro is all about. Now, there's some pretty big disadvantages to the iPad Pro, in my opinion. One of the disadvantages is its size, so it's a little bit hard to carry around, but that's to be expected, and you know that going in. So that's not a giant disadvantage. But one of the things is there's no real pro apps out there yet. I would say the closest thing are these type of apps. There is no Final Cut Pro or full-blown Premiere to use for video editing, and that's really where this falls short for me. And hopefully we'll see some updates in the future from Apple that take advantage of that. I would love to see a touch version of Final Cut Pro on here where I could actually edit on the iPad Pro and see what that's like. A Premiere Pro, a full-blown Photoshop, those just aren't out there yet. Pixelmator is pretty close to Photoshop, but still not 100% to where Photoshop is. So if you're looking for those specific apps, maybe even Logic Pro, things like that, they're just not here yet to the level of the desktop app. So hopefully that will come in the future. That's one of the big disadvantages. One of the other huge ones for me is one of the things Apple showed is this editing 3 4K video streams. And with 3 4K video streams and 128 gigabytes of storage that's not expandable, you're going to use that up in about 2 videos with raw footage and different space you need to render that and finally compress it. So hopefully they'll have some sort of way to maybe attach a hard drive for that, or I'm not sure where they're going with this device yet. I don't know if it's meant to be kind of a casual pro device or an actual productivity device that can replace my MacBook Pro or whatever you're using. It's just not quite there yet. I think it's got great potential. That processor is crazy fast. It never seems to lag. I've yet to see it lag at all, honestly, and continually impresses me as far as the speed goes. The other thing I failed to mention fully is the 4 speakers. Actually, depending on how you're holding the iPad, and say you move it slightly, it will actually give you a better stereo sound at all times. So what it does is actually calculates the angle and everything that it's at, and then lets you hear everything in stereo at all times. And it's really, really fantastic. It's by far the best portable device speakers I've ever heard. And I wish I could show you that on camera. You wouldn't be able to tell, honestly, without seeing it in person. If you have a friend with an iPad Pro, or you've got an Apple store nearby, be sure to check one out. I think you'll be pretty impressed if you're looking for maybe your first large iPad, but it's still not a full desktop replacement just yet. It's getting there. You could use Microsoft Word on here or Pages and be pretty happy as far as that goes. But if you're going to be drawing or doing video, I'd say hold off for a little bit and see what Apple does. If you have an iPad Pro and you've used one, or you have any other comments or anything, let us know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.